Welcome to Qwest Coast, a live play Pathfinder podcast. The Qwest Coast is intended for mature audiences. Content warnings can be found in the episode description.
Welcome to a side quest here on the Qwest Coast.
Qwest Coast!
We finally came up with a name for this segment.
And we'll probably change it again.
Who knows? Here we'll talk about the show and answer quest questions.
That's the show right now.
That's the show, right? Hopefully you heard the episode we posted last week, the second episode of the Holy Harbor Heist, in and out of the ceiling hole.
Run ceremoniously and surreptitiously by...
And inexpertly by...
our showrunner, Blue Jay. Blue Jay, do you have any quest questions for us off the rip?
So last side quest, we talked about your characters, kind of backstories, how you came up with them. We learned Boomer was slightly based on Dexter's Lab, which was mind-blowing to me. I had no idea. We talked about the species, the Drow and the Wayang, but we didn't go into your guys' classes at all. And in this episode in particular, you mentioned, oh, if you hadn't played an explosive class, we never would have been able to pull this off.
That's true.
Not that you guys have yet. Let's open it up with that. Some people may be new to Pathfinder. Some people may be new to tabletop altogether.
I will defer to Brick this time around.
I think I'll re-defer to the Wayang player, who's, as we will see, sort of hard carries this adventure. I know last time we talked about your character's background vis-a-vis spellcasting in the world, but what can you tell us about like the class specifically? 1, you're playing, 2, how you built it, and 3, how you came to like decide that that was going to be the thing you wanted to play.
The Boomer, Dr. Zila, is an alchemist. I have always loved alchemy as a concept. There's a puzzly nature to it, and I did not have the patience or diligence in my youth to pursue chemistry. But if you are presented in a world where alchemy is an option, alchemy is often described as chemistry's smarmy little brother or bigger brother, depending on how you look at it. It's a lot similar to how astronomy is to astrology. In the setting that we're in right now, there's been a lot of lore established. There has been a lot of the arcane, and I'd say a good amount of the divine that's already been well carved out.
Psionics as well, a little bit.
Psionics, the third magic that is not really referenced.
Well, in Pathfinder, we have the occult instead. So in looking at this world too, alchemy is something that is somewhat slept on. It's not mainstream. It's not mainstream.
Yeah.
You don't delve into it that much. But it's also something that is actively present within the world. There's alchemical items. There's ways that you can forge weapons that do involve alchemical actions to it. You can craft so many things with alchemy. So it's this building block kind of class that for me is something that is really appealing. And when I was thinking of Dr. Zila and the kind of character that I was building him to be, I was thinking what class would really help nourish and support this person who feels like an underdog. And alchemy seemed like the perfect version of that. It's an excellent marriage between a Picaro-esque character and science. There's a lot of creativity that you could really put into it. Alchemists, however, are also rather squishy. I think that's something that prevents a lot of players from using them as characters too. There's a lot of versatility there, but if you can't take a punch or if you can't deliver a punch, your roles are going to be few and far in between. One of those features of an alchemist, however, is this bomb-making feature. And within Pathfinder, there's a few different archetypes for each class where you can tweak a little bit of the base class's functions to either provide a different flavor or focus more on a particular flavor. So for Dr. Zila, there's a archetype known as alchemical sapper. That class allows you to weaponize bombs a little more destructive power, and a little bit more control over when the bombs go boom. And I thought that for Dr. Zila, that's perfect. He now has a big stick that he can use, but it's a limited stick. There has to be deliberation, there has to be plotting, there has to be scheming on how that's utilized. For the personality, for the driving force that it's him, I thought that's perfect.
Raspberry.
So Slayer is the class. The Slayer has a class feature called Studied Target, where like in combat, you can focus in on a specific target and gain bonuses against that target. And I was like, that makes the most sense for an assassin playstyle. Like she can double down on whoever it is or whatever it is she's pursuing. And the fact that I think the Ranger is one of its parent classes, so get access to a lot of the skills and somewhat abilities that like the Ranger does. It just made more sense for like a character operating in a mostly city setting play space to express that concept that way. And reflective of her training. Yeah, that to me felt like the most like sensible choice for her to be able to establish herself as like effective in what she's doing. Likely most of her income comes from the sex work she performs, but the bigger payouts likely come from like these contracts she'll get every, I'd say 6 to 7 weeks.
I imagine the two go hand in hand. Like, you know, you use skills of seduction to get close to someone.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then
Yeah,
gank
yeah,
them.
yeah. Social skills, social sleuthing, social sneaking, things like this.
So you just mentioned something too that I just want to address for maybe those who haven't played Pathfinder or they're new to tabletop in general. You said that the Ranger is a parent class to the Slayer.
Yeah.
The Alchemist is a newer base class.
Right.
So your base class is being Barbarian, Ranger,
Paladin,
Fighter,
cleric,
paladin.
fighter, monk,
Rogue.
wizard.
Right. So those are kind of universal over multiple role-playing games.
Yeah.
And then the Alchemist being brought in as a newer one, a newer addition in Pathfinder. The Slayer class is a hybrid class.
Yeah, although I forget what its other parent is.
I think it's Rogue Ranger.
Yeah, I think it's what, the Advanced Class Guide supplement?
Yes.
That's where it comes from. You take the broad strokes inspirations from like two classes and gestalt them together, differentiating from a prestige class, which is you gain enough base ranks or like base levels on a thing and then become a higher tier professional of a specific path. These hybrid classes like marry these features together and give you a new sort of sandbox of features with which to play.
Right. And the Slayer is the perfect example of this because the Ranger specializes in nature knowledge. So it's like, oh, they know how to track a certain monster.
Favorite enemy kind of a thing.
Favorite enemies,
Favorite
favorite
terrain,
terrains.
yeah.
And then you take the Rogue that's going to use just stealth and sneak attacks and combines it into like, oh, I can study a target, study its movements, find its weaknesses.
Yep.
So perfect for an assassin type character.
Yeah. That was the thinking behind that one.
So to break it down really quickly, a base class is something you select during your character creation. This is just their path that they're taking. If you want to be more melee focused, you might look into a fighter. If you want nature magic and shape shifting, you might look into druid. If you want to be a melee fighter, but you also want to try a little bit of magic, you might go paladin, who has access to holy spells. And then a hybrid class kind of takes attributes from two existing base classes and merges it into a new class. And there's a whole book with a list of those hybrid classes, like Slayer. And then lastly, you have prestige classes. They're more like upgrades to your existing class. Great. So that was my off-the-cuff quest question. But we're here to talk about In and Out of the Ceiling Hole, the second episode of the Holy Harbor Heist.
Episode 2?
Deuce. I like to call this episode also the planning phase because that's kind of what this one is. The first one is it's a lot of introductions and a lot of lore dumps. You as characters are meeting the situation, which is we're robbing this bank.
Yeah.
And then this episode is really like, all right, like how are we doing this?
Yeah. This is the strategy phase.
We started off with Ted having dug, or I guess we ended the first episode as well with Ted having dug a hole into the essentially the basement of the Bank of
Overlooking the vault.
the Bank of Abadar, overlooking the vaults, going into this planning phase where you guys kind of bounce a bunch of ideas off each other. Boomer dons a disguise, Albert Dimesworth.
Very original. Absolutely
I cast derivative.
an agent of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. And in the episode, it all comes together quickly, but like we spent a lot of time IRL as we were playing that session, like trying to figure that out.
Yes. The plot, not the derivative names.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I think we did shorten it for time, and there were some wild theories that I think we decided to like kind of cut out just to, or wild planning and kind of try to focus the episode. And a lot of it happened off mic too. Like we stepped away from the mics, we stepped outside, got some air, and like you guys kept planning like, okay, like, well, what if we did this?
It was a tough one to think through. And like, I think like Boomer is the hard carry for the plan because like, I cannot conceive of how like Raspberry's toolkit by herself would not have been able to get it done.
Yeah, but the Boomer's toolkit by itself also wouldn't have been sufficient. We needed the social aspect of Raspberry to really pull it off.
Yeah, no, they definitely work well in tandem together. And I think that's another strength of like figuring it out when you have a party of two.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the kind of thing that like emerges from that kind of play style. If we have no other example, like this episode is somewhat proves that like, you know, this is what forces like creative thinking, or like this is what can get you to engage in creative thinking.
Yeah.
But by the same token, like if Raspberry had been paired up with anyone else that didn't have explosives, could have been, and of course, like we have yet to see where this will go. It could have been,
But things are in motion now. Like there's no
Yeah.
turning back by this point.
exactly,
The vaults are, in particular, in motion.
truly,
That's true.
yeah.
By the way, you called it with the mechanism. I think early on in the episode, you were like, oh, like, well, if we put one key in and try to pick lock, we don't know what other mechanisms may trigger, non-magical mechanism.
It makes sense though, right? I don't know that I would call it like too much metagaming to be like, you're going to go assault the bank of like a religious faction, assume that like there will be charms and enchantments in place. See how that plays out for us next episode.
Mm-hmm.
See if that insight got us anywhere.
I particularly like this episode paired with the first episode. I feel like in the first episode, Brick, we get a lot of Raspberry solo scenes. We get her with Heinrich.
Yeah.
And then we get her with just like a random
Guy on the street.
in the very beginning, we get her going door to door to
Yeah.
talk to her clients.
Yeah.
And then we kind of go into this one, and this one's kind of more of a Boomer episode, I feel.
Yeah.
Like a little bit more light is shown on him as he goes into the bank. And I'm sorry, you also had the ending of the first episode where you went and talked to the bank guard.
That's true, yeah.
So in this one, we see Boomer going into the bank under
Yeah.
disguise, trying to open up an account.
Dime's worth.
It's 10 times as good as Penny's worth.
That's good.
You both talk to the fixer. You both have your own individual scene with that.
Yeah.
And I didn't even set this up. I said he walked in upstairs and you both separated yourselves. You know, Boomer decided to hang back and listen, and Raspberry went in. We really saw some tension between Raspberry and the fixer. We have Boomer kind of come in, and the mood almost completely changes. The fixer's almost excited to see Boomer.
Because he eats the breakfast.
Yeah, because Boomer eats the breakfast. Boomer checks out the oxen. The Boomer throws like the most shade. Be like, oh, if you had to get your hands dirty, if you didn't just hire somebody to come up with
Yeah.
a plan, like what would you do?
Well, I'm still curious about that, actually, because we end in and out of the ceiling hole. We have essentially accomplished the big question, which
How do you get the second key? That was the
Yeah.
big question of episode 1
exactly.
and going into episode 2.
Exactly. And we're now in the stage of the heist where we just need to grab the goods and get out, basically.
Right.
Which, now that we're here, I am still curious, how as you, as the game runner, what did you envision that Raspberry and the Boomer would do? What did you think Brick and I, in the 2+ hours we spent scheming, eating tacos, just wondering, how are we going to get in there? Well, what were your thoughts?
I was excited to see what you would both come up with. I didn't have a solution. As the fixer, you asked me, what would I do? And I think I said something along the lines of using explosives as a diversion, and then Raspberry using her skills, getting them alone, assassinating the High Cleric, and stealing the key, and then robbing the bank before the body is found. You guys kind of do a twisted version of that, where it's like you don't kill her, but you trick her into giving you the key. You still use explosives as a distraction, but also as a trap. You guys aren't just distracting her, you're essentially sealing her away. And that was incredible to watch. I did have fail safes and securities in place that you guys did narrowly dodge, and it was all because of timing. I don't want to go too into it because we're not done yet. I don't want to give stuff away.
Right.
We'll put a pin in it.
But there was a lot of stuff that you guys kind of did talk around without even knowing it. There's stuff that because the bombs were on a timer, there are certain situations I feel like you guys got around because it kind of put everything into a faster pace, like right at the end. As soon as a bomb goes off, there's no room for question. Something is happening. And the bank is on high alert and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And in that confusion, you guys are able to navigate a solution.
Like badass.
Yeah, pulling off that shadow cloaking like in front of them as they were like trying to dig out the rubble is kind of intense. In the genre, like that's where the heist would go wrong, right? Threading the needle with like such high risk, high reward type scenario. Crazy pull.
Right. And that's also the fun of this medium is she rolls High Clerk Robin Williams.
I love Abaddon. Oh.
High Clerk Williams rolled a perception to see if she noticed you planting the bombs, going invisible, and she failed every time. One success would have drastically changed the story.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this game is I lay out the groundwork of like, this is the setting, these are the players, and then you, the actual players, come in and it's like your actions and the NPC's actions are all realistic, but the outcomes are all based on dice. And it just adds such a chaotic combination.
I think it's like as the showrunner, like you set the stage and then like you adjust the narrative as we play around on stage.
Yeah, it's a lot of rolling with the punches and trying to adapt to what you guys do. And I can never plan for what you guys do.
Yeah.
And that's the wonderful thing, because you can still have an excellent adventure, and some would say, and me included, a better adventure because that ushers in that collaborative process.
Yeah. There's no knowing how the rope bridge will sway, but the swaying is not the issue. So Blue Jay, as you continue to construct this space for us, what was some of your thinking going into this second bit of the adventure, coming out of the first bit of the adventure we had run? How much of it changed? How much of it was influensed by player action? How much of it was sculpted or resculpted by what you were thinking? Can you tell us a little bit about some of like the inspos you were using for setting this play space?
I think going into this, I had all the traps planned. I had all the security measures in place for the bank. I had 2 names for NPCs, and that was the Fixer and that was High Clerk Williams. Those were the only 2 NPCs that were planned. Everything else from episode 1, Ted, Heinrich, Henry.
I made up Simon.
You made up Simon.
Yeah.
All of these characters made up on the spot. How could I have ever imagined you guys were going to go to another tavern and another bar and hire some coal miner to mine for you? So it's nice being a little looser and not knowing all the details, and that leaves you room to kind of adjust to what your players are doing. Whereas I think if you're too rigid on like, this is what I have written, this is the box that they are playing in, then whenever they try to go out of the box, you're going to try to steer them back in. I think not having a plan, not having a solution for you guys, being like, all right, like this is how the bank is protecting this money. Whether you found out what security measures or traps they had or not, you guys worked your way through it. And here we are now in a spinning chamber of vault doors around you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what will happen next. You guys continue to surprise me, and I hope that I'm surprising you.
There's a lot of surprises, and there will be more surprises.
The biggest surprise are the oxen.
I'm always surprised by cattle.
I think it's cut. I think it's in the original. But for whatever reason, Boomer and the Fixer have a conversation about what oxen eat.
That sounds like something that Bill would do. Yeah.
I think it was just a little too long, and like I was like, why is this here? And I think that's why the Fixer leaves, because I don't actually think we say the Fixer leaves in this episode. I think you guys both go downstairs and we just kind of assume he's gone. But I think that's why he leaves, is he's going to go find out what oxen eat, and he takes off.
The motherfucker has too much time on his hands. All right.
Also, it is my opinion, or my belief rather, that rather than finding out what it is that oxen eat, the Fixer will just delegate that to someone else.
I think that's also why I took it out, because I was like, this does not seem in character. Like, this does not seem to motivate the plot at all. I think it was just a bit in a riff that Bill and I were going off of. And I was like, yeah, he's going to go look for whatever oxen eat. He's going on his own adventure.
Which, for those of you questing and coasting at home, something to look forward to, depending on how long we go with this thing. We'll upload the raw audios of these games at some point. You guys will be able to listen to like the 3.5 to 4.5 hour sessions that we've condensed down into like an hour.
If you want.
If you want.
There's a lot of really bad audio in there too.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy.
Players at this point, like, what is your opinion of the Fixer?
Well, I mean, for the beginning, Raspberry's like, you should not know my fucking name. The fact that you know my name is enough for me to kill you.
I am delightfully annoyed by the Fixer, and that annoyance grows as the adventure progresses because the Fixer is the linchpin that this is why we're doing the thing.
He's the catalyst for the game.
But realistically, there is no reason for us to have to follow through with it. We don't have to do the heist at any point in time.
Or at all, even.
Yeah, we're incentivized to do it, sure, but we don't have to do it. But we are going to do it because there's enough of a payoff. But the fact that there's not this necessity to do it, and there's this character here who's playing all of their cards very close to their chest, who is being deliberately coy and evasive about things.
Almost too smug.
Yes, it's exactly. And so it also becomes, in a way, an outsmugging contest. How can we get this and get our own, and if needed, and hopefully it's needed, buck over this person who's giving us a hard time, essentially.
Which is a weird way to treat the people you want to like do the robbing of a bank for you.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is like a good question for us as players who've made these characters is like, why go along with this at all?
Yeah.
Outside of the payout, like we said earlier, high risk, high reward. But beyond that, why though? Because like if it goes wrong, we're fucked.
Boomer has a line, I believe, in the first episode being like, hey, I want it in writing that no matter what happens, proceeds go to such and such charity organization.
right.
So we kind of do see Boomer's intentions there. As much as he may be described as a terrorist bombing ships in the bay, he does have this, he's mentioned it in this episode, you know, when he's talking to the bank teller, he wants to see how the bank treats the little guy or treats those who have less.
Disenfranchised, exploited, forgotten, left behind.
Right. And then he says that he came here for a sociological experiment. And then we see that he wants proceeds to go to this charity thing. So we kind of see why Boomer is doing this. It seems a very selfless act. Like he's taking this money. And I think the Fixer even plays on that a little bit in the first episode. Let's do it at the bank. He says something like, oh, I think this fits well into your lesson plan. He's almost egging him on. Like, hey, this is what you're all about. So come do this job.
I didn't feel egged on. I felt like it made sense in the sense that it's money and the Boomer can use more of the money for that sociological experiment. In the same vein, though, Bruce Wayne is rich. I think we establish...
Is Bruce Wayne real?
That's a good question.
Well, billionaires don't lie about their wealth ever. So, I mean...
I certainly can't think of any prominent billionaires in this current moment in history who have lied about their wealth.
No one is more honest about billionaires than me. So when he came to Tetris Harbor, and this is something that isn't necessarily going to be fleshed out within this adventure, unfortunately. Coming to Tetris Harbor, he wanted to dismantle a lot of that elite structures.
The hierarchy?
Yeah, the hierarchies and the structures that are keeping the little guy down.
Yeah.
In the same way, though, it is a game. He can play it, and he plays it well. Besides the Boomer, Dr. Zila also has a more altruistic, social-facing glamour, Bruce Wayne, owner of Wayne Enterprises, but also the Wayne Foundation.
Is Bruce Wayne a Wang? Or is that a disguise?
He's a human.
Is he?
So he is real. He does exist.
I mean, he exists in our hearts and minds.
You can't corrupt a symbol, allegedly.
So Bruce Wayne is a human.
Is he doing racial cosplay? Is that what he's doing?
My name is John Half-Orc. I'm a billionaire.
I'm a half-elf billionaire named John Half-Orc.
It's spelled differently. There's a hyphen there, and the hyphen prevents people from understanding.
Oh, like Wayland Yutani.
Exactly.
I see.
I wouldn't say that anyone in Tetris Harbor has actually met Bruce Wayne. Maybe one or two people have met Bruce Wayne, but it's almost like Banksy, where it's more just the reputation precedes him. And Weighing Enterprises has made some big purchases. How much money laundering that involves, that's for another time. The Weighing Foundation has made some charitable donations. Some of it has to do with funding certain healing issues in the city. If there was like a plague or something, potions were distributed by the Weighing Foundation.
Were the Weighings former nobility? Were they attached to the crown in any way before it went under?
No.
Also, it was independent wealthy.
Well, again, allegedly.
Allegedly.
This is just the story, Gatsby.
Right. Old boy, this is simply how you make billions of dollars at Tetros Harbor.
Old sport. The more altruistic things like getting medicine for everyone sick. He was just in his shack brewing up stuff, probably sipping that filet leaf to
He's
stay
probably
away.
causing the illnesses to heal them later.
Well, I could see it almost as Dr. Umberzila is making all these healing potions to delve out, and he could be like, oh, like, I made all of these because of a donation of Bruce Weighing.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's false flag altruism?
It is false flag altruism. And it's funded by deep state terrorists.
So I do want to ask you some questions, Brick, but I do want to go into that. You bombed ships in the harbor, specifically UIA. Why?
Because they have the goods, and the UIA is the thing in power, and they suck.
Yeah, the UAE definitely has a stranglehold on like trade in and out of the region right now.
Yeah, I mentioned that in the very first episode.
You
I said
did. Yeah.
They strictly control the harbor and everything coming in and out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you get your potion materials and your black powder. Is that kind of the...
Oh, does that mean none of the materials are native to the Rhinesian space?
What?
So if you're blowing up the ships in the harbor to get access to the materials by which you brew potions, does that mean that the southern part of Ceres, where Rhinesia is, does that mean it doesn't have access to the natural ingredients in that part of the continent?
No, I would say we have some access to the ingredients. I'd say it's more to keep the money flowing, to keep things going. We just take the goods from there, and probably not even all the goods, because it's not the boomer is a thief. No, the boomer is a terrorist that's destroying these things to send a message.
At least the state has labeled him a terrorist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think the boomer would proudly say that he is a terrorist for that.
Humberzila would keep that under wraps, but the boomer proudly.
Right.
One man's terrorist is unfortunately another person's revolutionary.
Look at all the history of countries destabilizing other countries around the world, but that's a different conversation for a different time.
I will just add this in there now. I asked these players to make criminal characters. The Qwest Coast does not support acts of terrorism. We do not glorify acts of terrorism. We do not glorify harming innocent people. So we've seen Dr. Zila have all these different glamours, disguises, illusions. We just saw Albert Dimesworth. We've seen the hoaxy wizard that he disguises as. Is there a certain guise he uses when he's doing these terrorist acts as the boomer?
Does he have like a default second skin?
I don't think he does have a default second skin. I think that's what keeps the mystery of the boomer. There's not a consistency.
You can't like pin a pattern of behavior or like pattern of appearance.
Yeah, the consistency is the inconsistency.
Right.
And it's a lingering question I actually have, which is how the hell did the fixer find out who the boomer is?
Yeah.
Well, with all these careful steps he's taken, there would have had to have been a lot of observation involved in that. Or there would have had to have been a lot of forensic accounting, tracing.
If boomer is defined not by their appearance, but by their MO.
Well, going from the fixer knowing identities, let's switch it over to Raspberry real quick.
Yeah.
You guys had your own conversation in the Crossroads Tavern.
Right.
Where you were kind of batting him. What's the plan? What's the plan? Which is like, give me details.
Yeah.
And then he kind of comes back at you with a threat when he mouths the word 12.
Yeah, he knows my fucking name.
Yeah.
He
and
shouldn't.
I mean, that's been a driving force for Raspberry, I feel like, since the beginning, right?
I feel like that's most of the reason is why she's here in the first place.
Because he's got your number.
Yeah, he's literally got my number.
Raspberry's relationship with the Fixer is really interesting to me because I feel like, to me, that's almost changed the Fixer's dynamic. He's become a little more antagonistic because Raspberry keeps hitting him. Not physically, but she keeps coming at him. I've had to adjust, like, well, he's not going to take it. You know, he's coming back at you and he's got information on you. He's got to establish the fact that he's in control here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like an element of her character is using that sex worker status to like operate in plain sight kind of a thing. She has found a way to make herself comfortably visible without having to give up like any of the truly pertinent things about herself that are related to like the things she actually fears. The fixer knowing her name, him knowing the name may not be necessarily the thing that she fears. How he got to know the name is probably the thing she cares about more. But it does not help that like this human presenting character is attempting to handle her. She comes from an incredibly robust background of diversified training, you know, with these Drow matriarchs who like do not suffer fools. And if you challenged any of them in like open combat, would decimate you without a second thought. You know, she comes from a lineage of powerful people. She comes from a lineage of agency that is not easily challenged or questioned. You know, so to be caught in this dynamic with this human, the problem is if she took out the fixer now, she wouldn't know how he learned. She could kill him, and that would stop him knowing, but it would not stop
Whatever network.
exactly, like it would not stop what she is perceived as some kind of lapse or some kind of infiltration that has allowed this person, by whatever means they used to learn it, it would not have revealed to her how this had happened. And that for her is more important. And it's so important that she will suffer this human acting higher than her to learn how that happened. As I said in the first episode, her safety is less important than her sister's safety.
Okay. I think that's the first time you've said that, actually.
19 left before 12 did. They found each other later down the road because 12 is like older and more learned and like stronger than 19 is. And because like functionally like big sister, little sister kind of a thing. 12's chief concern right now is keeping 19 safe because the matriarchs want them both back. 19's protection matters more to her than her own does. 12 is operating in Tetros so that she and 19 can get out later. They haven't been able to yet, but this is simply one stop on a haphazardous nomadic escape plan. Neither of them are quite sure where they're going, but because they broke away from the matriarchs have been constantly trying to bring them back in by any means necessary. But she cannot safely move on unless she knows all of the information stock gaps have been plugged.
It seems like Boomer and Raspberry have a similar but opposite conflict with the Fixer. And that is Raspberry is wondering, how the hell does the Fixer know my real name?
Yeah.
And for Zila, it's how does he know my alternate name?
Yeah.
How does he know I'm the Boomer? Like the Boomer's inconsistent. How does he know?
The most valuable fucking thing in this trade is information. Bar none, the most valuable fucking thing in this trade is information.
But the gold is nice too.
Yeah, the gold is a nice rejoinder to the industry in which we operate, but like the industry in which we operate is kept sacred by the flow of information.
One would say that for at least Zila, the gold is a payoff for you knowing this information. So if, for example, this was not to be lucrative, that would automatically make the Fixer right away just a flat out enemy.
Yeah.
Because what utility does the Fixer have at that point?
Yeah.
You asked me earlier about my inspirations for this adventure.
Yeah.
And I did say I was trying to play this one loose, but I was taking inspiration from the Shadow Broker from Mass Effect.
Goated. Oh my God, goated. I
was
love
thinking
that.
of somebody who delves in information, is kind of connected in the underworld, yet is still somewhat unknown. So someone high profile but unknown. And I love that kind of contradiction.
Similarly, the Elusive Man from the same game operates that way.
For our audience who hasn't played Mass Effect and doesn't know either of these characters, could one of you describe them both a little bit?
Yeah, so Mass Effect, BioWare's one of BioWare's crowning achievements, Star Trek inspired RPG from the late 2000s. In Mass Effect 2, one of the driving characters is this character called the Elusive Man, played by Martin Sheen, who is this pro-human centric head of an organization called Cerberus, which we used as the inspiration for Ceres, the pro-human continent.
Tetros Harbor, capital of Rhynasia. Rhynasia, a kingdom within Ceres. Ceres based on Cerberus, Mass Effect 2.
Yeah. The Elusive Man is like pro-human centric, will do anything to advance humanity's cause. A high information broker with something of a social profile who like heads up this human supremacy organization. And then the Shadow Broker is a DLC character, is the king of information for the underworld. Like nothing happens in the underworld in Mass Effect that the Shadow Broker does not know about.
And it's also similar to the Red Hood, where it's a title that is like passed down. So anyone can be the Shadow Broker.
Anyone can be the Shadow Broker.
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Exactly. Yeah. Or Banksy. As someone who doesn't DM regularly, but has DM'd, you've been playing as long as I have. You haven't been DMing as long as I have, but like we've been just about every game we play together. If someone were to come to you and ask, how do you construct a game? What from these last 2 games would you point to as examples of either good game design or good thinking as you take on the role of showrunner?
I would say the most important thing is that your players are your main characters.
Yeah.
So if you can have a session 0 or just a conversation with them, talk about kind of what they're hoping for, what kind of character they're making, and then right around that, that's always the best case scenario. The players are the main character. That's really the most important part. The game is for them. It's not for you as a DM. I think many experienced DMs know this, that, if your players are having a good time, then you've done a good job. That's kind of the bottom line. That's it. This is a story for them.
The point of any game is to have fun, right?
Yeah. We're making a podcast, so the story is for the audience and the listeners as well. But when I'm writing the story, it's for you too.
Yeah.
Or a larger group who is not on the podcast.
Right.
But I've mostly done small town kind of adventures. So this is my first foray into there's a large sprawling city. And I think I've done a good job of not displaying the city at large at all.
Yeah.
I think I've kind of hinted at the lore. I do have a map and I kind of have things organized in a way that I can understand the city, but I've narrowed the scope because again, you two are the main characters. So anything outside of what you guys do almost doesn't matter to me. I do have things in motion, like the bank is operating. They have security measures. They have daily routine.
It has a floor plan.
It has a floor plan. I have the fixer who is going out and he's getting oxen, where he got these oxen, like you guys don't know.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need to know that either because you guys aren't seeing it. You guys aren't witnessing it. If I have that information written down in a backstory, being like, oh, he went to Oxmart and got some oxen for 2 for 1 sale.
Oh my God, that's good.
That's great if I have that information, but it's not pertinent to the story. The fact is he showed up, he's got oxen. They're healthy, they're good. We had Boomer go and check them out. We know that they are there. They are real too. He did not lie to you.
Right. So far as we know.
For once.
It's actually 4 halflings in 2 oxen costumes.
There's plenty more to say and plenty more to play. Do either of you have closing thoughts for this side quest this week?
Oxen are basically castrated bulls. So there's multiple different animals that can be an oxen. It could be a yak. It could be an actual cow bull. I just thought we should include that at some point because we did talk about what do oxen eat. It really depends on what the oxen is.
This has been Filling in the Frill with Bill.
On
Qwest Coast!
Coast.